Star Wars, what have they done to you? It frankly is a canon event, watching the complete destruction of Star Wars as an intellectual property. I really was that obsessed kid that really only talked about Star Wars. If you look at those Disney adults, kind of the Star Wars husband type deal, I would have grown up to be one of those, if not for what happened in The Last Jedi. Now that we're 10 years removed from the first of the sequel trilogy, The Force Awakens, we can very much admit that it's just kind of a rehash of A New Hope. Literally just leftover slop from the night before, of a bygone era where movies were actually made by visionaries and not boards. An era long ago where the director actually made a movie instead of being casted for the role as a director. Genuinely, look at all of the Marvel movies, especially the ones in the past roughly 6 years. Could you genuinely say that, oh yeah, it's this director's vision? If anything, the special effects artists have more to do with the movie than the director does. So now that the sequel trilogy is in the rearview mirror, we're more than comfortable in just throwing The Force Awakens into the garbage. At the time, for me at least, it wasn't offensively bad, but to be fair, I was not kind of an expanded universe type guy at that point. All I really knew was the movies and video games, a little bit of Clone Wars, but I'm sure those that were more deeply invested into the books of the expanded universe were a lot more offended by what we got on screen. Any goodwill that was left with Disney just completely thrown out the window. Rian Johnson took it, ran with it, and we got to see a visual abomination on screen. To be fair, it's a good looking movie, but if you actually understood any of the dialogue that was said, any of the actions that happened, it makes no sense in the context of Star Wars. I'm sure you've heard all about how either good The Last Jedi is or how bad The Last Jedi is and how the other side is very toxic. 2018 to 2019 YouTube was just filled with, oh, look at this Star Wars thing. This franchise sucks now. Not to mention all the coping that Dave Filoni was going to save the franchise. Essentially in Rebels, Dave Filoni, who's the showrunner of the Clone Wars and Rebels, created a whole time paradox just to save Ahsoka from dying. The world between worlds, as he called it. And there are so many YouTubers saying this was going to be the way to basically retcon the entire sequel trilogy, which is really funny looking back at it. In this era between The Last Jedi and the final movie of the trilogy, The Rise of Skywalker, there was a lot of anger, but there was also a lot of passion and a lot of hope that the franchise could get better. There was hope that Rian Johnson's movie was just a step back that they can recover from. It's kind of hard to ignore how Luke Skywalker dies, and the Holdo maneuver was just a complete Daemon X machina. But I'm telling you now, a lot of people were going to be willing to forgive just Jesus Leia just surviving for absolutely no reason, as well as the Holdo maneuver, if it meant they got an authentic representation of Luke Skywalker that they've been waiting for since the 1980s. Hell, Han Solo in the sequel trilogy is basically just reverting him back to the New Hope Han Solo, but a lot of people are willing to look over that just because, oh, it's a new Star Wars movie, first one in 10 years. Technically been less than that if you count the animated Clone Wars movie, but everybody just forgets about that. But right when The Rise of Skywalker came out, alongside the launch of Disney Plus, The Mandalorian was releasing weekly. And for as cynical as I can be, I absolutely loved the first season of The Mandalorian. Most of the imagery was just straight up original trilogy with very minor sprinkles of the prequels. I mean, we got to see a B2 battle droid. That was pretty awesome, in a flashback at least. And it should be noted that this was in 2019, which is the very start of the rise of Pedro Pascal as an actor. His only really notable role before that was Game of Thrones, which is huge. It also helps that we didn't really see much of Pedro Pascal's face at all in this season, which I'm fine with that because I see his face way too much now. There was one concerning thing about the first season of The Mandalorian, and that is that Baby Yoda can force heal, which just so happens to be a big plot point in The Rise of Skywalker. So in a way, this scene is just a complete ass pull to justify the other ass pull in the new movie. To be fair, it is done a lot more tastefully in The Mandalorian, but the idea of force healing just completely kills all of Star Wars. Why couldn't Anakin do that? Would it really be that much outlandish to assume that Anakin would be able to force heal his own wife, the chosen one force healing? But no, never brought up in the prequels. The Mandalorian, alongside the return of Clone Wars, really brought back the hype. Not to mention people were locked down. People could only be nostalgic for time times long gone. So there was a lot of hype around Star Wars in 2020, just nothing was around the prequels at all. The most notable thing to come out the prequels is that I'm pretty sure there is some pro-Reylo shipper, Reylo being Rey and Kylo Ren, the bad guy, and I'm pretty sure like one of them was stalking either Kylo Ren with his wife, trying to get him to marry Daisy Ridley. The weird thing is, looking back, we can now see that Star Wars is now relegated to streaming. We have not seen a Star Wars movie in theaters since 2019. We had a 5-year time span where we were getting a movie every single year, but now we have gone 6 years without a movie. And for the most part, all that we've gotten past 2020 was just mediocre Disney Plus shows. The Bad Batch, Boba Fett, Obi-Wan, they really do fail to live up to the hype, which, considering Boba Fett and Obi-Wan are some of the biggest characters that the franchise could offer, not sticking the landing on those shows were a complete disaster. It is widely speculated that Boba Fett and Obi-Wan were originally going to be movies, which it really does show in the final works, that they had the content for a movie, but then they had to stretch it out at a bunch of filler to fulfill an 8-episode run. For me at least, the Book of Boba Fett was the straw that broke the camel's back. I was like, yeah, I'm done with Star Wars. Goodbye. Disney Plus in the trash. I really don't think I've opened up Disney Plus ever since then, ever. Did the showrunners understand what the appeal of Boba Fett was? He was stoic, he was silent, and he didn't have his mask off the entire time. I'm fine with taking the time that the show provides to more flesh out Boba Fett as a character. But this guy, he just projects weakness throughout the entire show. The Obi-Wan show has similar issues, but Obi-Wan just wasn't the main character of his own show. So then he had to share the screen time with young Princess Leia and then the Inquisitor that was going after him. And then the integrity of the story is just completely thrown out the window for hype moments and aura. Look at that, Darth Vader's back and he's fighting Obi-Wan. I own Funko Pops and this is the coolest thing to happen all year. After that, it was the biggest who cares assortment of shows ever. The Ahsoka show was just Dave Filoni given way too much of a budget. The vast majority of people that you need to sustain this project have not watched all of Clone Wars, all of Rebels, The Mandalorian, both seasons. Oh, I guess there was a season 3 that had Jack Black and Lizzo. Like, how am I supposed to tell somebody who's only watched like the 9 movies that came out? It's like, yeah, you want to watch the new Star Wars show? It's about Ahsoka. Who the fuck is Ahsoka? Oh yeah, she's Anakin's Padawan during the Clone Wars. What? This brings me back to the Book of Boba Fett because I'm not done talking about it. The last few episodes are essentially a backdoor pilot for The Mandalorian Season 3. Like, this has absolutely nothing to do with Boba Fett, but we get to see Luke Skywalker and Ahsoka both in the show together, which it would be the coolest thing just to see a conversation between Anakin's son and Anakin's Padawan. But no, all that opportunity fucking squandered. How did Ahsoka not react to at all by being saved by Luke Skywalker? His last name is Skywalker. She used to call his father Sky Guy. So for shows that are completely unrelated, we have the High Republic series, which first started off as like a collection of comics, essentially as a replacement to the Old Republic. But then in 2024, we got The Acolyte, which did garbage, didn't even get renewed for a second season. The showrunner for it used to be the assistant for Harvey Weinstein. If you want to see why the show fails spectacularly at writing at a 5th grade level, then go see this video by Titan Chaz talking about hype moments and aura, because that's really all it's got. It waves the lightsabers in front of your face thinking that you're gonna forget exactly why they're doing so, which makes all the fights just feel hollow and empty. But now it really goes to show how much of a dark age Star Wars is in now. Everybody was watching The Mandalorian when that came out. You would not be able to walk into any store without seeing Baby Yoda, or now known as Grogu. But Star Wars is just so dead. It has been inundated with show after show after show, and really the only one that could be seen as passable after the season 2 of Mandalorian would be Andor. And considering it's Andor based off of Rogue One, yeah, I can see why it didn't catch on with the general audience. Even if that one show is great, it is still a gem in a heaping pile of mid. Calling it mid is actually being very generous here. Star Wars genuinely is no longer for the normies anymore. It is for the Funko Pop collectors. It is for the lore historians, which some of the purists may be very cool with. But when the lore is so off-putting to most people, even those who were deeply invested in the previous continuity that was completely scrapped once Disney bought it, then yeah, I think it's safe to say that apathy has set in. That's not even to talk about all of the continuous retcons that have been throughout this new continuity already. We were told at the beginning of this new era for Star Wars that every single piece of media is going to be in tandem with each other and nothing would contradict each other. But then we get Dave Filoni in just about every show retconning everything from the previous books. The Ahsoka novel. In The Bad Batch, he even retconned Kanan Jarrus' origins in Order 66, which frankly, I'm not sure what you should expect considering you have Dave Filoni, who contradicted a lot of stuff in the expanded universe while working on the Clone Wars. And a lot of it is frankly unexcusable. It was back then and it is now. I'd really like to see you defend the Clone Wars in the comments. Please do so. Either that or just admit you like it because you grew up with it. Not that I care about the integrity of Star Wars anymore because it's been lost long ago. It seems that the power scaling is completely off the charts regardless of what era the new media takes place in. It makes absolutely no sense for Darth Maul to just be alive after episode 1. It makes no sense for Force healing to be a thing. And it makes no sense for the Holdo maneuver to even exist. Oh yeah, also it doesn't make much sense for the Council to trust Anakin with a Padawan. I think it's safe to say that Ahsoka was the downfall of Star Wars. She was the first character to be inserted somewhere where she absolutely has no place in. She is Dave Filoni's fanfic character, OC, that he just has to keep alive. She has Mary Sue powers rivaling Rey. But you know what? I don't care anymore. Star Wars is in the past. There are 6 Star Wars films and 1 show animated by Genndy Tartakovsky. That is all you need to enjoy Star Wars. Also the Lego Star Wars, the first one at least. The complete saga. Do not play the Skywalker saga. It's unfortunately ass. It looks really good, but it's ass. As a video game. I remember about 10 years ago, there was some Gen Xer that was all concerned like, oh, they're trying to make Luke Skywalker gay. And frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if they did anymore, and I wouldn't even care. Making Luke Skywalker gay would be less of a betrayal than whatever he was in the sequel trilogy. So go ahead. I mean, Disney already made a transgender clone trooper. Yeah, remember Sister? Supposedly in the 501st Legion? Yeah, I'm done with grieving over Star Wars. I'm done with bargaining. I have accepted that it's gone. It's dead. There's no saving Star Wars at this point. So instead of watching whatever Disney Plus slop is airing now, you should watch me. Subscribe to my channel and become a member for exclusive content and a patron exclusive Discord. Man, I can't even chill with enthusiasm with all this negativity. That's how dead Star Wars is. I can't fake the YouTuber voice. So guys, if you like this video, make sure you subscribe, hit that like button. This whole situation really does remind me of the state of Xbox right now. People were so angry about the reveal of the Xbox One, how it was only online, how you had to buy a Kinect with it, and now look at Xbox. It's just dead. Nobody was buying an Xbox, and then they decide to raise the price to $600. Yeah, Microsoft, full of a bunch of geniuses right there. You buy out like $30 billion worth of gaming industry companies like Bethesda and straight up Activision, and then you still do worse.